Welcome to the range with your host Brendan Brown, here with your sports panel, the Honorable Chris Gallen, Wes Henderson,
Happy days.
J.B. Brown,
That's funny they said that.
and Cleveland Spears.
Hey y'all.
And starting it off, the Honorable.
Well, over the weekend, we had a lot go down in college basketball.
Yes, sir.
Number 1, 2, and number 3 all lost. Congratulations to Cleveland for number 3 going down.
Thank you.
Kansas lost, Kentucky, and Purdue. Now with the shakeup of college basketball in the top 3, Syracuse has been catapulted to number 1, of course. Duke was number 5, but they're still not above any one of the 3 teams that lost, which was kind of strange considering that all 3 teams lost pretty handedly.
Yeah.
So now we have a new prediction of the top 4 seeds for the brackets. You know, even though the brackets change every week, which I feel there's no reason for bracketology until at least when the conference tournament starts. But as of now, who is the number 1 team in college basketball?
Well, I gotta go ahead. So I'll start off. I mean, one is it's got to be Syracuse. Syracuse has played in a very tough Big East, and really and truly, I mean, it's very tough to come out of that. I mean, let's look at Georgetown. Georgetown used to be very, very huge, a good basketball school. Now they're barely going to make the tournament. UConn, we talk about UConn every year. UConn may not make the tournament. So, I mean, Syracuse catapults themselves up to number 1, deservedly so. You talk about how Duke hasn't moved above those 3 teams that lost this past weekend. That's mainly because, really and truly, they play in a very weak ACC, as JB would know. It's a very weak conference, and you can't, then like me and JB was talking the other day, the only quality win they have in conference is probably Wake Forest. That's the only one I can give them, because really and truly, I mean, that conference is so weak that you can't say, hey, you beat NC State and move on up. I can't give them that anymore. But Syracuse, number 1 team, deserves it.
Yeah, I mean, I can give it to Syracuse, but then also you can also give it to Kansas. I mean, Kansas, yeah, they lost over the weekend, and they just dropped 1 spot. Yeah, Syracuse, they're in the toughest conference in the nation right now in the Big East. I mean, you're dealing with that. Villanova, I mean, they fell just to number 8.
Yeah.
I mean, West Virginia's number 7 right now, and they're up big on Georgetown. Yeah, Georgetown's one of those. Those are one of my preseason favorites. Like to go far, and yeah, they seem to have flashes of greatness, and then they always falter against these sorry teams like Rutgers. That makes no sense. Kentucky, Kansas, Syracuse, and those are my 3 number 1 seeds that determine where to start today. 4th number 1 seed is kind of like to be determined. So that's what I'm going for.
Wes.
Yeah, I definitely agree with y'all. Syracuse is definitely the number 1 team, hands down, if you look at Kansas and you look at Kentucky, and, those 2, they're powers in their own conferences. But besides Tennessee or Texas, there's nobody really else that they have to really mess with in their conferences. I mean, they may have some big uprisings like Kansas State or maybe Florida, that can give them a run for their money. But it's kind of like, but the Big East, top to bottom, they have all these guys that just go, Georgetown, UConn, every game they play is a matchup. Even the unranked ones like Louisville. Louisville still has the potential to beat anybody on their schedule. So Syracuse definitely, hands down.
Well, as far as Syracuse in the Big East, it is the toughest conference, so, anything can happen there with just like Notre Dame beating Georgetown. As far as the Big 12, Kansas is pretty much by themselves. Texas is completely gone, especially after losing to A&M over the weekend. They have nothing. The only other team that would probably challenge them for the conference tournament title probably would be Kansas State. They're still ranked.
They still have a game against Kansas State.
As far as the SEC, it's just Tennessee and Kentucky. Even my Florida Gators lost on the dumbest pass over the weekend, which I don't even want to discuss. But as far as the ACC, I mean, besides Duke, pretty terrible. Maryland is quietly coming around. What's his name?
Gravis Vasquez?
Yeah, Gravis Vasquez had 41 and 33 in the second half. So, I mean, you got to watch out for them. But as far as any other conference, I really don't see anybody messing with them. But it's going to be a good March Madness, I believe.
Can't wait.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, moving on in basketball. The Big Diesel, the Great Aristotle, the Shaq, Superman, however you call him, he's on the shelf 6 to 8 weeks after thumb surgery. Now, you're probably wondering, okay, it's Shaq, and why is he on the bench with a thumb injury and all that such? But hey, a thumb injury is nonetheless it's an injury. And the Cavaliers, I mean, right now they need a center right now. They're 2 centers down, and if they still want to get Zadrunas Ilgauskas back, they still have to wait another 3 weeks just so they can sign him. That's going to thrust Anderson Varejao into the starting lineup. I mean, Cleveland, they don't lose that much. I mean, they don't lose a lot with Shaq being gone because he doesn't really contribute as much, but they do lose a lot of size and a lot of pressure off of LeBron James because they're going to be expecting and depending on him more to distribute the ball and score at will for the Cavaliers. So he's not, with the absence of Shaq, he's not going to be back until possibly the second round of the playoffs. But I still don't see Cleveland faltering that much. What do you guys think?
Well, with Shaq gone, I think it doesn't bother Cleveland at all because they don't need him right now, especially. And then come playoff time, more than likely the 8th seed will not have a big man because the only other big man in the East is Dwight Howard. And the Celtics more than likely will be the 3rd or 4th seed with Big Baby Davis and Kendrick Perkins. So they won't have to face them till possibly the second round, whoever, pretty much second round, whichever team goes away. So the first round, they'd be all right. Shaq's production isn't that great as of now anyway. He did have a good game when they played the Magic a few games ago. But as of now, besides any other team, they really just don't need him. So I see the Cavs just doing what they always been doing.
Yeah, I see the Cavs. Their offense is based around obviously LeBron James, but the rest of their guards and forwards. The center is not much of a primary position unless you want to throw Big Z in there because he has an outside kind of a threat. He can kind of shoot the long distance. And I expect the Cavs to pick up Big Z in 3 weeks. It's going to happen, because Big Z's been there for 13, 14 years, a long time. He started his career in Cleveland. He wants to stay in Cleveland, so he'll be there. So that really fills that void that Shaq had, So I think that's going to help them push. And, you have LeBron James, you're going to be okay no matter what.
Well, first off, let's just think of the irony of all this. Shaq hurt his thumb against Big Baby, the protege from LSU. Remember when he went to the LSU? Big Baby was known as Baby Shaq.
Baby Shaq.
So granted, he hurt his thumb against Baby Shaq.
Yeah.
As for Big Z, if he was going to sign anywhere else, he would have already done so. So he'll be going there. As for, do the Cavs need him right now? As Chris said, no, he wasn't producing that well anyways, except for one every 3 or 4 games. I do believe that no matter what, when he comes back, it will be in the second round of the playoffs. They'll use him then. They'll work him back in there. But I think the Cavs have it straight, mainly because they will now start playing an up-tempo type of a game. And that's where Anderson Varejao comes into play.
And we'll be right back with more news on the Rangers.